Hey there, welcome into the Spalding Brothers podcast. I'm your host, Wyatt Spalding, and I would have another brother with me here today, Weston Spalding, but it is just me today. So, I'm going to talk about how in life things don't always work out as I planned. So, long story, hopefully, I'll make it short here. I was prepared to go to Italy. So right when I started this Special Olympics Sergeant Driver Global Messenger thing, which I got chosen for last year in 2024 or December 2023, and 2024 was my first year. But when they told us we're going to be Sergeant Driver Global Messengers, they said we were going to go to Italy for the Special Olympic Winter World Games. So that was a big event. So we had like several meetings for this and all that. So I'd never, like, for me personally, I've never been outside of the country. And I'm pretty excited. I mean, nervous to travel outside the country because I've never been, but it'll be a great experience. So we do all these meetings throughout the year of 2024 for it. Coming into 2025, we have more because it's getting closer. At this point, from our last episode that we had, talked about like going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, to the media row days at the Super Bowl. I've been to the White House in December, and so all these great stuff I'm doing in the Sergeant Driver Global Messenger. But the Italy thing was like the main thing. Like that's what they really like wanted us to do. So it's coming up, and I do this Super Bowl thing. Well, I come back from the Super Bowl and I get sick. I don't just get sick like a little sinus infection or have a little cough. I did have a cough to start with, but I got bronchitis. And yeah, it sucked. I've usually gotten bronchitis before, but like this actually wasn't as bad as I've had it in the past. Usually when I have it, I have like 100-degree fever. My lungs are wheezy, coughing. The fever makes you feel like 10 times worse. So plus with like wheezy lungs. And this time I never ran a fever, which is good. But I kept coughing all the time, coughing, just coughing, and was really tired. And so my lungs got wheezy. Started in my left lung, so I went to the doc, got some medication. Then it creeped over to my right lung. And I don't know, it was like, so that would have been probably end of February, like February, oh, like 20th maybe, or something like that. Somewhere around there, maybe before that. But I was starting to get like, that's when my lungs started creeping over and it just started getting worse, my bronchitis. So, oh no, wait, before that. So it was like February 13th. That was it. February 13th is when my lungs started getting real bad. So you're trying to stay optimistic. My parents like, you have enough time to see if you need to go to Italy, you'll be fine. And I've been through this before. So go back. Before I went to the USA Games in Florida, I got pneumonia right before and made it through that and was able to play. Before I went to the White House in December, I had a sinus infection. That was pretty bad. And I was on do a scope right before. So, and all this medical stuff like days leading up to before I was supposed to go to DC. Made it through that. So I've been through like this before with the Global Messengers and just my whole life with like, oh, you got this coming up, you're sick, yada, yada, yada. What are you gonna do? Even before like I went to the USA Games in 2018, I had my stomach shut down and went to the hospital, got dehydrated, all that stuff, and made it through that like a month or two before my first USA Games. So always some medical issue pops up before I do some big event. It seems like maybe not all the time, but 50%, 50 to 40% of the time, maybe. Let's say 40. of the time, maybe not 50, but every once in a while, a medical thing pops up, and I wonder, like, am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to do my big event? So I'm wondering if I can do this event, and yeah, I just don't really know what's going to happen. But once I got on that second dose of medication, it was which was like steroid. Yeah, I was kind of like losing all hope. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna go. My lungs are wheezy, so I'm on this steroid. And not really feeling great with the wheezy lungs. You can't sleep half the time anyway because you're coughing, and you're all hyped up from steroid. Maybe I might do an episode, probably do an episode with Wes to explain more what it's like to be on a steroid. Just be like a lot more funnier if I do it with Wes. But basically, you can't sleep on a steroid. Everything irritates you. You're shaking all the time, stuff like that. And at least for me. So I'm on the steroid, and it sucks. Plus a couple antibiotics. Well, I started on the steroid, I have bronchitis. Well, then during the week, I have another doctor's appointment for like my sinuses. And then I'd been getting a lot of sinus infections. Did a surgery last year to try to fix my sinus problems. Worked for like headache pain, but still have sinus problems. So I just go in for this checkup because I'm having problems. Yada yada, go in, and then they say that, man, you might have a staph infection in your sinuses. And I was like, great. I had a staph infection last year in my sinuses after my surgery. And I was like probably not very healthy for like over a month. Around the same time too, because I had the surgery February 15th, and I didn't feel good again until like 100% until like April, not April, May 1st probably. So that happened. And so I didn't feel great around that time either. So at the same time this year, same time next year, dealing with all these medical issues, all that. So not great. So I go to the doctor's sinuses, do some tests, see if I have a staph infection. Have to wait a little over a week or something like that. And then I find out I do have a staph infection in my sinuses. So I have that. I have bronchitis on top of a staph infection. And then I'm supposed to do like this scope that I've explained before, where they go in and open the entry to my stomach, make sure everything's okay. And it's kind of more like sometimes a safety precaution. So like when I travel, I go to Italy, I don't have to worry about it because it can happen like that. Like I don't know when I'm gonna feel it. I don't know like when I'll have the day where it feels like I can't swallow anything. It just comes on and it just happens. But they say they can't do the scope because my lungs are wheezy, which makes sense. You're going under. They put you under. They take an X-ray of your lungs like every time after you do the procedure, like in recovery. They take an X-ray of your lungs, and my lungs are already weak. Like that's not gonna help. So I tell them I have wheezy lungs and that I'm on antibiotics and all that, and I get a call back saying they can't do it. So then I go in this discussion with my parents if I can have if I should go to Italy or not because I can't do the scope. And it was a tough decision to make. Like at first when the day came, like I'm like thinking, yeah, I could go, like I could do it. But the night before I even found out I couldn't even do the scope, my lungs are still wheezy and I'm like nervous about it. And I have reactive airway disease. I don't know the exact definition of it, but basically my lungs are like weaker than average lungs or stuff like that. I used to have a lot of problems with my lungs growing up, not much as an adult now because I'm older and bigger and stronger and all that, but still, like I have to watch my lungs every now and then, obviously, because I had bronchitis to start the year, so awesome. But anyway, I was thinking like the night before I found out I couldn't do scope. I was thinking about my lungs, and I'm thinking like, yeah, even though my lungs are a little wheezy, like just a little squeaky or a little coarse or whatever, I'm not going to Italy because I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk like not you know, like not feeling good and having weak lungs and then getting worse because I've been like at a 15 or a 12 or whatever, like whatever's worse than a 10 sometimes. I've been like that in my life and it's awful. And you never want to go through like the worst feelings in your life. And some of the worst feelings I've had in my life is when my lungs are wheezy and you're working so hard to breathe sometimes. Like obviously there's probably a lot of people out there that have dealt with way more worse that have dealt with way worse lung conditions or whatever than I have. But for me, like people I've been around in my life, like I don't know a lot of people that go through the medical stuff with their lungs like I do. So like I remember like freshman and sophomore year of high school, I had bronchitis and pneumonia. I remember when I started college, I got pneumonia really bad. When I was in third grade, I got pneumonia. Was in the hospital. When I was in first grade, I got pneumonia. Was in the hospital. Preschool, I had pneumonia. Was in the hospital. Was in the hospital. I would say maybe for like 3 or 4 years, I had bronchitis, but I didn't have to go to the hospital. So I was like, oh, I'm getting better, getting stronger. Got bronchitis, but don't have to go to the hospital. We are improving here, people. We're improving by just a little bit, just a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I would get bronchitis or pneumonia. Oh, and then I had pneumonia in 2018. Didn't have to go to the hospital. So that was awesome. Besides feeling like terrible with 100 and some degree fever. And this time I had bronchitis. And obviously, bronchitis isn't as bad as pneumonia, but it's a close second. Bronchitis is tough. If you ever had bronchitis, it's no walk in the park. But I'll go back to my lungs. Like I've felt that bad before, but my lungs are that bad, and I'm trying to breathe, and I've been on oxygen before, and it sucks. It's awful. It's just bad. So I thought, like, well, even if my lungs are a little wheezy, I'm not going. No way, man. No way. So then when the scope comes, I'm thinking like, I should go. I can do it. Blah blah blah. My lungs are getting better. But then I thought about it throughout the day, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't go. Because if I was like that for my lungs, or even just a little bit of risk with my lungs, with them being wheezy, I wasn't gonna go at all. And my mom made a good point, like you don't want to go at all if there's a risk of you choking, especially since you can't do the scope. And I just thought about it later in the day, and I was like, ah, she's right. I probably shouldn't go at all because there's a risk now. I could choke and everything. And at this point, I wasn't feeling any symptoms at all. So I decided not to go. I had to tell the people for the whole semester I can't go. They were very understanding, great people. They were just really understanding. Just felt bad for me that I couldn't go, and I felt bad that. And you didn't let them down, but you feel like you did because you wanted to go and represent Special Olympics and all that, but it just didn't happen. And that's the thing. It's like I felt kind of bad for like the day. I'll get to the day I had told them. I had to tell them, but kind of fast forward, like now I'm just like it's like disappointing because right now the especially when the Winter World Games is going on, so I see stuff on social media and stuff, and it's disappointing. But it's like I thought about when I was sick, and I still have the staph infection, and we're dealing with that. It's like getting better, and then I am just like tired. I'm like tired and get not as tired as I was a couple weeks ago, but just you can still feel the fatigue. So it's just like, well, at the time I was probably too tired to care. Like I wanted to go because the day I told them I couldn't go, I was really hyped up on steroids and then didn't sleep at all. So not being mad and upset about not going the day I had to tell them didn't help either. So it just made me more enraged and angry. And I was like shaking because of the steroids. And yeah, so if any of you have ever been on steroids, I don't know, but for me, I only get like 2, 3 hours of sleep max, if that, when on steroids sometimes at night. So I don't, yeah, it's rough. So I went through all that and everything, and a couple, I don't know, it was the next day or a couple days later, but my mom made a good point. It was like, why you've been through this before. Like, yeah, you've done a lot of great things. Like, I try to stay positive, like, hey, at least I got to go to New Orleans. I did the football thing with my best friend Kenny. Get to meet some good, cool football players. Experience what media roads like at the Super Bowl. Got to interview some Kansas City Chiefs players. One of the best experience, if not the best experience of my life so far. So I got to do that. So like, I'm always was trying to stay positive and tell people like, it's not that bad, and there's worse things. There are worse things that could happen than just missing a trip to Italy. I could have gone, and it could have been awful because I can't swallow. And I know you're thinking like, well, you said you were fine when you told them when the day you were supposed to just go, and I was fine. But then about 2-3 days later, I started like kind of feeling sick on the weekend, and then I was like, I might just be having a bad day. Then 2 or 3 days more went by, then another 2 or 3 days, and now it's like I can eat, but I feel sick to my stomach every time I eat, and that's because like it's closing, or I have this sensation of it closing, or it's very complicated to explain, and I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but basically now when I eat, because I haven't had the scope yet, my stomach kind of tightens up and closes. And I just feel really sick when I eat now. So it was a good thing I didn't go, but when the year started, when they started this Sergeant Trevor Cole Messenger thing, I was planning it. I was planning to go. I was planning to do this. And that's the thing about life, that you can plan all you want. But then when the time comes, it's either going to happen or it's not. When it doesn't happen, I think you have the right to be upset, angry, mad, disappointed, all the feelings, all the feels, no problem. Angry, I try to tell people sometimes like, don't talk to me, okay? I'm too mad, I'm too pissed off. Don't talk to me for several hours. But eventually, you just gotta suck it up and deal with it, basically. I kind of go back to my mom said, like, you've dealt with this before. You've done a lot of cool stuff before, but you've also missed out on a lot of cool stuff because of your health. So you just, like, yeah, then someone that doesn't deal with your health problems, like, they would be like probably pretty disappointed that they missed out on this big opportunity. I know you are too, but you've gone through this before many times, so it's nothing new to you. And she was right. Like, yeah, it's nothing new to me that I had to miss a big, cool, great opportunity to go to Italy and help support Special Olympics and do all these amazing things, but just didn't happen. And it doesn't mean like I won't do other great things with the Sergeant Shriver Global Messengers in the future, but it does feel like I missed my opportunity. I missed my main point in life to like to make connections throughout life and prolong my career in Special Olympics. But that's not true either. Like, yeah, I probably did miss out on some great opportunities that could have happened to me, and either my life would have stayed the same when I got back from Italy, or maybe it would have changed. I don't know. We'll never know now. But that doesn't mean like I just missed out on the biggest moment of my life and it's over and I'll never get a big moment like that again. No, like in life, you always get other opportunities. You get other chances if you're willing to keep going and keep trying towards those opportunities. If you miss out on a big moment in your life because you feel like you missed it, or you're like me, you had a stupid medical thing come up, or several all at the same time, then when you get healthy again, or when you get the next opportunity again, or to work towards something, you can't just be like, well, I missed out on this, so why would I try for this because it didn't happen? Like, no, like your life isn't over, so you have another opportunity if you want it. You just got to find it or work towards it or figure out what's next. That's what I've always had to do. So I've had to figure out what's freaking next. And I'm not going to lie here and say like, oh, I kept a positive attitude about it all the time. No, I didn't. I'm inside. I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm pissed off, upset, but I'm not going to like just show it on the outside for weeks at a time because I missed out on going to Italy. Sure, maybe a couple of days. That's normal. everyone deserves that. But now it's just like, it's over, it's done, I missed it. You got to move on, because if you just stay in the past where where you missed out on some big opportunity and you sulk about it, and then another opportunity comes, but you miss it because you're sulking about the last one that you missed. Well, you just missed out on another one because you were mad about the one you just missed. So don't sulk for very long, because there could be another opportunity right around the corner. You never know. So that's kind of what I've been dealing with this last month or so. So not the greatest month, but getting better and figuring out what's next. And right now, what's next is trying to stay healthy and trying to look at all the positives here. So, because I missed going to Italy, hopefully now I'll get to play at least half or 3/4 of my basketball season. So I was going to miss most of it because of going to Italy. So, well, at least I'll get to do that. And I love playing basketball. So I'll get to do that. Hopefully on Wednesday. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, you can't just always sulk about it forever. It's all right to be upset about stuff, angry, and let people know you're angry about missing some big opportunity in life. But don't do it for too long, because you're going to miss out on the next opportunity in life. So, I heard this like quote the other day, and I don't think I'm going to get it right, but it's just like, God sends you on these paths, and He doesn't send you on a path that He doesn't think you'll succeed or you'll do good. He sends you on the right path in life, and you just gotta have faith that God will send you on the right path. And that's what I always tell myself when I go through like it's pretty rough times. Like it'll all work out in the end. And I might say it like sarcastically, like a lot. So it may sound like I don't really mean it, but I do. Like inside, I know deep, deep, deep down when I'm going through some really tough times that I know that it will all pass. It will all work out in the end. And, these rough times will pass. I'll get through it like I always have. And whatever happens, happens. Even if it's something I don't really like or don't really want to happen at that time in my life, God knows that it is the right thing for me, the right thing for me to do at this time. Yeah, it's real crappy what I'm going through, but down the road I'll go through something great again. I would always tell Wes, and I think the first time I said this, he maybe took it like negatively when I said it. I might have been like in college or something when I said this, but I was like, when you're going through bad stuff, there's always something good around the corner. And when you're going through good stuff, there's always some adversity or something like bad around the corner as well. And I'm not saying that to be negative, like, oh, something bad's gonna happen. It's just life. It's ups and downs of good and bad. And you can take the bad and turn it into something good by learning from the bad stuff that happens to you in life, the adversity you go through that's tough, that you don't want to happen, that makes you miss out on a trip going to Italy. But that's all right, because you gotta just get over it and just see what's next. Because like I said, there's always something around the corner. There's another opportunity around the corner waiting for you. So don't sulk too long, otherwise you might miss another opportunity. That's a little short episode of the Spalding Brothers Show. I hope you enjoyed my little story or rant, probably more of a rant, maybe. But I feel like I did it calmly, for the most part. So tune in to our next episode where Wes and I will talk about our birthday and what it was like for us in our 20s and now going into our 30s, and a little video I made for Wes and why I did it. So thanks for tuning in to the Spalding Brothers Show. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and my YouTube channel, Life with Wyatt Spalding. See ya.